Oh, Narnia standing over your mouse like it's her hostage. Oh, Narnia being a cat, for full disclosure, for those not familiar. Okay, I'm going to let the ad break run. Any impromptu key mashes will be disregarded as being messages from Narnia. Fair enough. Hiram, I refuse to even go there. Hi there, and welcome to a thread of my streams, which at the moment is Druttercup's first looks. That may be changed, but that's essentially what they are. So welcome. Today, I am having a poke around in the second edition of the Laundry RPG, which is Cubicle 7 Entertainment's role-playing game based on the Laundry Files novels by Charles Stross, which are, how can we put this, fairly comedic in elements, although they got darker as they went. Black comedy absurdism, cosmic horror based in batshit is a good word for it, Fish, yeah. Based in bureaucracy. It's essentially, what if the people battling the things beyond were holding down day jobs, and had to file expenses and have meetings. Welcome, Fishy. So yes, it's lovely to have people. So we're going to crack on with this. Cubicle 7 are Irish-based, island-based RPG company, best known for elements of Warhammer. Previously affiliated with Rebellion, but they then bought themselves back out, and the first edition of the Laundry RPG was, I think, 2010, but don't quote me without looking that up. And it used Chaosium's basic roleplay system, BRP. Now, the license to Chaosium then expired in the intervening time, so when the second edition rolled around, Cubicle 7 needed a new system, so they used the one from, I believe it's Age of Sigmar Soulbound, one of their Warhammer-based games, Warhammer Fantasy-based games. And that was designed by then employee, now running his own games company, Emmet Byrne. So it's a very different system to the BRP one, so I'm not going to dive into that because I think I do have the first edition kicking around somewhere. But this is the flashy new Kickstarted one that came out over the last couple of weeks, and this week went live on drive-thru. So we're going to start with a look at the Laundry Operatives Handbook. Original publishing was 2010. You see, I do my research, I just don't necessarily remember it. I should have made notes. Sorry. So, you can see from this, tentacles are involved, as are computers, and frankly, that's as much as you need to know about the Laundry files going in. We're working very much on magic is magic. Things beyond are things beyond. Other universes exist. Many of them contain things with more tentacles than brain cells. And many of those things are still more intelligent than any of us. And somewhere down the line, the stars will come right and it's all going to go wrong. But in this universe, magic and maths are interchangeable. A common way of getting into, I was going to say trouble, yeah, it's probably about right, and to end up working for the Laundry, which it will be explained in a mo, is essentially to have found something new and interesting to do with mathematics. And the Laundry step in before something permanent happens to you, your loved ones, or a large chunk of the nation. Right. We're not recognising the key command today. Fine. Hello? You with me? No? Okay, fine. That feels happy. Love it when key commands just go, no, not doing that now. It's fine. So, scrolling it is. So, leaning heavily into the aesthetic. I mean, we've got everything's a memo, obviously. I rather like the little summoning grids we have over here of occult symbology. Yeah, Hiram, I feel you might well be doomed. Okay, so we have the foreword, which is at least written by Charles Stross, originally credited as Charlie in many of the books, and unfortunately that's where I picked up on it. So if I refer to him as Charlie, it's not I know him or anything, it's just that that's the name in my head. Let's go for that opening paragraph. Good morning, everyone. My name is Susan. I'm deputising for Emma McDougall from Human Resources, and I'm here to help you. Welcome to this month's Induction and Orientation Training Day. Please help yourself to the complimentary coffee before it goes cold. Oh, too late. Well, maybe a biscuit. Take 2 if you like. Jennifer accidentally overordered. They're a bit past their sell-by date. Good. I'm glad to see there's enough chairs for everyone this time. As you can see from the schedule on the overhead projector, we've got a packed... No, Egbert, we don't use PowerPoint in this organisation. It's a security risk. As I was saying, it's not about computer viruses. Security is protecting you from having your brain eaten, because that always happens when someone tries to introduce PowerPoint in this organisation. Have another biscuit and stop interrupting, Egbert, or else. There we go. I think that pretty much covers an awful lot and agrees with many prejudices those of us who dislike PowerPoint have harboured subconsciously. Moving swiftly on, to start with, please take a briefing pack from the stack in the middle of the paper in table, write your name and payroll number on the form in front with the big biro provided, sign for the pen here and for the briefing pack in the second column and pass the form round the table. I'll be collecting the pens at the end of the session for ritual incineration as hazardous waste. They will be counted back in. There, now we begin. This morning I have 2 sessions for you, Introduction to Documentation and Standards, Applied Form Filling, and Introduction to Professional Standards. I know what I'm doing with it, Ali, I still hate it. Yes, Clarissa, that's what we named Diversity, Equity and Inclusion to after the Minister of Administrative Affairs. Yes! Shout out to Yes Minister. Forgot his dried frog pills, and indeed Pratchett, before his appearance on Newsnight last month. If you completed the EI training at the Department of Agriculture last year, you can just sit back and, oh, look, just take the rest of the biscuits. That's an order. After professional standards training, there will be a catered lunch in the canteen. Do not, for the love of whatever god you pray to, select the jam, sponge and custard dessert. Jennifer accidentally ordered a 20-kilo industrial catering pack of maltitol and they're still using it up. After lunch, things get more interesting and you'll not want to be stuck in the lab for that. It's much harder to run away from monsters when you're flying the TP flag with the knickers at half-mast. No, Carl, there are no serial killers in the civil service, not even in Q Division SOE, reverently known as the laundry by all its inmates. I'm referring to actual monsters summoned by magic, which is usually applied mathematics, not stage tricks, some of which can best be described as malware for meatheads. Here, have another biscuit. We've finished the Jammy Dodgers. After lunch, Sir Timothy Pearce will be along to prepare you for tomorrow's course on the Introduction to Applied Occult Computing. He'll assign you your wards, magical defences, and give you a reading list on the underlying sciencey whatnot you need to understand to survive being thrown in at the deep end. You can tackle it tonight in your own time. Don't worry, there won't be an exam. If you survive tomorrow, you've got a passing grade. Anyway, on that note, welcome to Capital Laundry Services, and may the Great Pumpkin have mercy on your soul. And I don't know where that voice came from, and I do apologise. However, I thought that was as good an example of how the world works in the laundry files as anything. And therefore, what the hell I thought I'd read it. Apologies. So, having set the scene, we are going to leap straight into we've got your standard, what is an RPG? What is this RPG? Always nice to see an example of play. An awful lot of, I'm not going to say less experienced, but newer companies seem to think that everybody knows what an RPG is. And this is not always the case. Every game is somebody's first. So having an example of play here, it's just good manners in my humble opinion. Oh boy, we have footnotes. Okay. I like the oh, that's nice. We have footnotes of Pratchett-esque styling. And they are colour-coded with highlighter effects. We like that. That's a nice design touch, actually. You've been recruited to one of the British government's most secret divisions, one so secret that simply knowing about it requires you to sign the extra part of the Official Secrets Act in blood. This government division is so secret it doesn't even have a name and is referred to by its original location, offices situated above a laundry, giving it the name Capital Laundry Services, or simply The Laundry. The vibe you're getting is the world is mad and we're going mad with it, but we're rolling with the punches, pretty much. You're an operative for the laundry tasked with investigating occult activity, stopping sinister cults from summoning mind-melting horrors, and preventing world-ending gods from other realities from feasting on humanity. Equip yourself with your government-issued warrant card, a phone loaded with occult apps, and as many enhanced arcane artifacts as you can requisition from Q Division. There's also the opposite problem. Some games have an example of play but forget to include a game. Yeah. Some games lean a bit hard into the sort of roleplay that you encounter in improv and training sessions. And then there's a nod to a game system somewhere at the end. Which, if that's your if that's if that's your thing, then yeah, okay, cool. But I quite like things that were game first. Be warned, life in the laundry is not that of a glamorous spy. The gadgets are arcane, the cars are compact if you're assigned one, and the threats are cosmic. The stars are coming right, and the end may be close. With the speed of technological development, more accidental and not so accidental summonings are occurring each year, and dangerous sorcery is simply a keystroke away. But you're not alone. You may wish you were. Together with operatives from many departments within the laundry, you form the country's last best hope of surviving the approaching magical, technological, extra-dimensional apocalypse. Delete as appropriate. Just remember to file your R70 form in case you survive, or you won't be paid for overtime. So we have a really good example there of something that's probably never going to happen, but on the other hand, that may be what some of the summoning grids look like. And yeah, tentacles coming through. That's from things designed on computers. There's an awful lot of using smartphones to do the heavy lifting on magical mathematics computing in this, coupled with arcane drawings in things like conductive pen. Welcome to the hottest and fastest growing hobby of 1977. Sorry, I hadn't read that line. Okay, that appeals to me. By the way, I apologise for not being on camera today. I took one look at my face and decided that nobody needs to see that. Okay. So, premise of the laundry. You must have done something to get noticed. It could be you're a bit of a computer nerd and you accidentally formulated a simulation of 5-dimensional space by working some algorithms you weren't supposed to mess with. Hire him. You could just have a knack for technology or have been the target of a cultist's plot. An ideal candidate for sacrificing to one of the many-angled ones in another reality. There's a high chance you've simply witnessed something you shouldn't have. A mass of tentacles and mouths that lay in wait for you in your student dorm, the exorcism of Janet in the work cafeteria, or stumbling into a different realm by following the wrong cycle path home from work. Whatever you did or witnessed, the laundry was there to stop it. Some of the other witnesses now claim to have no recollection of what happened and have returned to their normal mundane lives, and they're lucky. They are blissfully unaware of the impending nightmare about to befall the world. Adventures in the laundry role-playing game involve sending your pitifully under-equipped and underprepared operative out into the world to try and prevent the unthinkable from happening. It could be something horribly familiar, being sent to exorcise another possessed white-collar worker just like Janet. Devon, what's your mum been up to? Or to prevent an over-enthusiastic coder from accidentally inviting ravenous brain-eating infovores over for supper. It could be as simple as sneaking into an office building and purging the dangerous code that could unleash the horrible terrors, or as dangerous as entering a portal with a team of heavily armed SAS troops to place a tactical nuke in another dimension. They are the key line of defence in our country, protecting us from threats arcane, occult, and often technological. Hunting cults, deleting dangerous code, and facing horrors that either do not have a face or have more eyes than you can count. It's dangerous and chances of survival are low, but it beats having to attend another training course. Welcome, Null. Right, so character creation. Let's move straight into this. What year is this? Now that's worth knowing. So, the default era is between 2005 to 2010, which means operatives work for Her Majesty's Occult Services, not his, as Liz is still on the throne. The first iPhones are becoming popular, 2007 to 2008, and you cannot escape Daft Punk is playing in my house. You bloody can if it's mine. So these are basic. This is essentially a period piece because of the way the novels were written. A lot of the stuff really has to be backdated because real events have overtaken things. So we are roughly in the period of, in the novels, between the Jennifer Morgue and the Apocalypse Codex. So that's where we stand time-wise. So yes, iPhones are a thing, but only first, possibly second, I think first edition. And before it all starts going absolutely south. The only other thing that is introduced in one of the later books are, if I recall correctly, fangs, who are definitely not vampires because vampires do not exist, but they're vampires. So it's a 6-sided dice pool game, aka the good books. I'm fine up until Rhesus Codex. To be honest, a lot of Rhesus Codex is extremely good. It starts to lose me slightly after that. I don't think all the narrators are as strong as characters could be, but that's just personal opinion. Really, really, really like the first few. Absolutely adore them. But everyone's mileage may vary. And of course, this gives us access to the starting cast of characters as background. So yeah, the system itself is D6 dice pool. Starting characters in the Laundry role-playing game will usually have dice pools ranging from 1 up to 4 or 5. So they recommend having at least 66 in when you're playing. Now, I am actually happy with that write-up, because the number of times I read this is a dice pool game, and you're kind of, how many do I need? 66, perfectly reasonable. I know very few gamers who cannot cobble that many 6-sided dice together. Playing the role-playing game mostly takes place in conversation between the GM and players. The GM describes the scene, the players interact with it, pretty much as a role-playing game goes. The actions they take normally just happen. If the player wants their character to open the cupboard or ask the nice officer to point the taser somewhere else, that's what their character does. And then you roll for anything where things are uncertain and where success or failure would have a significant effect. So, yes, as far as dice pool games, looking at you, Shadowrunner, yeah. We refer you to box 3 of the D10s. Sorry. Apologies, it is still really dry here. Inside, anyway. Right. So we are going for character creation. So overall, I really like the look of this book. The layout is very nicely done. It is neither too cramped in a, oh my god, we got to get as much information on each page as possible, and nor is it doing one page and then one paragraph and then everything else is art looking at you, Free League, because Alien could have been half the length or contain twice as much information. So, new employees. You will hear a lot in game about the Official Secrets Act Section 3. That's the section of the Official Secrets Act that it's illegal to know exists unless you've signed the previous section of the Official Secrets Act. Hello, Chrono. I had the shock of my life when I found out my mum had signed the Official Secrets Act. That was a moment. Nothing, unfortunately, nothing occult or outre. She just worked as a civil servant briefly. and had to sign it. At least that's what she tells me. Okay. I'm just looking at... Yeah, that's not a million miles off, to be honest. It's good artwork. We like that. From the weird tentacular horror to the residual human resource. Not a zombie, honest. And the poor guy who's just got this... Oh, for God's sake. Tuesday again. Okay, as with any new employment position, you have thrilling paperwork to complete. The paperwork helps you keep track of what your character can and cannot do, and their attributes and skills. Keep a close record of these characteristics using the approved forms. By forms, they mean the character sheet. There's a lot of form filling going on. I will be expecting when I run this, by the way, to have everybody signing the Section 3 of the Official Secrets Act, just purely because I think it would be a giggle. So, there is also a supervisor's guide. If you're used to D&D, we're looking at Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide. So there is information in the supervisor's guide that they can use to answer questions people have about character creation. Just don't make them sign seriously Section 31. Laundry supervisor's guide. I think that pretty much... Yep, that's what you can expect your character to look like after probably a session or so. That seem reasonable to people? I won't give too much of a look there. But there we go. I think that's pushing your luck, having that kind of thing tattooed on you. Good luck. So, we do have the character sheet, which is that, for those of you who want a decent look at it. Two pages, and nice and clear, actually. Another modern trait I've seen is I'm not fond of landscape character sheets. Maybe the dude goes unbroken by a spook to call one too many times. Could work. Yeah, I'm not a wild fan of landscape character sheets. I know they're quite popular in some circles. Not for me, unfortunately. Tends to leave everything a little bit cramped. And it's, aesthetically, I don't know. There's a few landscape books as well, and I don't really get on with them, I have to say. I don't know why. However, what this is nice and clear and gives you enough space to actually fill stuff in. It is indeed a very old school character sheet, Fish, and I do not see a downside to that. What it is it's a very clear layout. I worry for the number of injuries that you can sustain. That's a little bit scary, we'll confess. Landscape sheets are monitors shaped. Yeah, I suppose, yes. She says, looking at her second monitor, which is, of course, portrait. I will say, landscape PDFs make my head hurt when I have to have them on the second monitor for running. That's no fun. Suddenly everything's tiny. So, we have your standard things. We have player name, we have character name. Age, your grade is within the organisation. Your current assignment is your job, and then you have your department. Born, yes. Yeah, It's the playbook style character sheets. I think it may be why I don't get on with them, because I'm not particularly fond of that kind of the playbook style gaming. I just, for some reason, it just doesn't do it for me. I'll play it. I'll play bloody anything, really. If asked nicely. But for some reason, they just don't work with me. The number of injuries possible is concerning. How many of your organs do you consider absolutely necessary? Now you're just getting petty. This record is classified Persona Matrix Red, not for distribution. Falsifying information on this record is punishable under the Falsified Records Directive. Expect everything to have a code word. Your scenarios are probably called by code words. Even if they have proper titles, they will be known in-game by specific code words. That's going to be a jolly thing to work out. So, yeah, we've got your basic details there. I love you. You've got line manager, supervisors, short-term goals, long-term goals. Basic description. And only 3 stats. Body, mind, and spirit. The emphasis is then on skills, of which there are actually a reasonable number. And talents, which we will get to. Yep, perfectly reasonable, Chrono. Then you have your combat info, which is fair enough. Picture. Okay. Personal history, possessions. Really, did you have to phrase it like that? And equipment. Next of kin, good luck with that. Disciplinary record. Okay. Oh, that's nice. So you can have your short and long-term goals noted down there, but you can do them in more detail on this side over here. Now that I like. On this section. Any and all training and certification. What IT equipment do you have? And what spells you know. There aren't that many games that will have both. Okay. So, creating a character. You'll follow 8 steps to create your character. 50 ways to leave your lover. 8 steps to create a character for the laundry. So, use a pencil so you can make changes before the auditors check your paperwork, or make notes on scrap paper and transfer them onto the character sheet. I will be hunting down to see if there is a form fillable PDF, and if not, I'll make one when I'm coming to run it. The laundry is mostly average people. Who have often stumbled into their role in a secret government department. We are not looking to create Jason Bourne here. We are not looking to create Bond. I'm taking no questions on Jennifer Morg at this time. Oh, fair enough, Hiram. That sounds fun. They are not the best of the best of the best. They are the people who were in the wrong place at the right time. Possibly vice versa. If you have a particular type of character in mind you would like to play that isn't listed as an assignment, so the assignments are templates, effectively. And there are a lot of additional potential assignments in the laundry, or if you simply want more control over your character creation, you can take the following steps. You set your body, mind, and spirit to 1. You have 40 XPs to spend on increasing your attributes, gaining skills and talents. Determine why you're involved in the team, what makes you special, and why have you been selected for the missions. And then you're off to the races. So that basically will put you into the same. Okay, I want that. I want that mug now. Morning from the deep. Yes, please. So that is custom creation is there, and that is nice and simple. will go through the standard one using one of their assignments, and that will give an idea as to what the numbers actually mean, because having 40 XPs is lovely. We don't know how to spend them yet. We don't know what the limits are. So your character's role within the laundry defines their starting attributes, skills, and talents. You choosing an assignment doesn't lock your character down to a particular type of duty, however. They will inevitably be subject to the never-ending turf war between the management of the various divisions. Due to the matrix management system and willing or coercive cross-division cooperation, your character will likely be sent on a variety of missions outside their assignment, causing all manner of headaches related to accurate billing and budgetary allocations. Biggest issue may be persuading people is they can't all be computational demonologists. Exactly, yeah. Yes, the main character / narrator from the first 5, 6 books is a computational demonologist called Bob, and he's lovely and I adore him. And in any other series, he would have been a greasy stain about 20 minutes in. But one of the things Stross does is he writes people, and he writes people very well. And they're not always perfect, and they're quite often not perfect, but they always feel quite real for the most part, even when they're irritating. Though it boasts only a few hundred employees, Capital Laundry Services has a large number of internal divisions. Assignment on Chapter 3 contains the ones that are most appropriate for player characters, but are many other divisions and departments and a host of positions in the Supervisor's Guide. Yes, I have access to a lot more. The Supervisor's Guide also includes, as a result of stretch goals, character sheets for characters from the novels, which is quite fun. I now have Angleton's character sheet. Yeah, just don't. For example. So, your first step is you choose an assignment from page 20 to page 37, and bless your little heart for page references. Are the bookmarks hyperlinked? Yes, they are. That is a good thing. In an age of PDFs, bookmark your bloody PDF chapters at least. You don't have to go as granular as Artalsaurian do, where they have huge numbers of in-page links, which can be really useful. But just basic chapter links to let you hop around, so damn useful, so damn handy. Your character's assignment is their day-to-day job, what they do in the laundry when they're not being sent on dangerous missions to save the world. Attributes are your character's innate capabilities. Your starting attributes are usually determined by your choice of assignment. Of course, in the actual world, they'd be the other way around. Skills and talents, page 60. They represent your character's competency in a certain field, while their talents are unique abilities they've learned. Or possibly had imposed upon them. And then you get into equipment. Basic equipment your character carries around with them, and special equipment for missions can be requisitioned later. I haven't looked at the PDF linking on Eclipse Phasefish. I take it it's good, because currently I've not really seen much better than Black Chrome. But always happy to have a look. And then step 5, add some details. Your character has goals, and you can determine things like their name, appearance, and age. That's leaving it remarkably late, actually. Then the team. You are part of a team. This is something I really, really like. A team's put together for a specific mission or reason. Your team will have goals. You will have KPIs to meet if you're to get ahead / survive. This does a lot of the heavy lifting for the GM in terms of why these people together. Why these people are together is because they have been told they are. They all work for the same organisation, and you have been assigned your mission should you choose to accept it. Oh wait, you don't have to choose. Background and personality. Your character's more than just numbers on a piece of paper. They have a history of personality and had life before being recruited. Emphasis on had. I had a real life once. Here you define your character and determine just what they're like and who they are. And then any finishing touches. There are a handful of essential stats that can be determined. Now you've got everything else down. That define how good your character is in the conflict and how likely they are to survive the encroaching horror. Good luck. Okay. Non-human characters. Let's address this quickly. Players who are familiar with the Jennifer Morg or Reese's chart may want to play a character who is, how to put this delicately, humanity challenged. Not entirely human. If you're feeling confident enough to try playing a non-human character, consult with your GM and look at the custom character creation section on page 17. Basically, you can, but they are subject to GM approval. So you can have someone who is part Deep One, you can have a vampire sort of thing, but that is strictly GM approval. And I like that they've addressed that straight out of the gate. Okay. Let's go there. You are not expected to roleplay every moment of your day-to-day duties in your assignment. You'll get to experience the highlights of the accounting and bureaucracy, ensuring you don't overspend while trying to stop half of London from being eaten. So it's background flavour. That's okay. No problem, Hiram. No worries. All this talk of recruitment and induction makes it seem like your character is a fresh-faced new employee walking into the new annex for the very first time. However, once you start working at the laundry, you'll realise a great number of workers have been there a long time. There really is no escape. Blue Hades, you saw me swimming alone. Yes, fish. Yeah. This will be the last job your character will ever have. Even death doesn't excuse you from clocking in. It could be your character's been working at the laundry for a while and has managed to keep their head down long enough to not draw the attention of management. They may have been there years, but it's assumed they will be sent on their first special mission along with the other new characters in the group. Yeah, basically you could have been sat in your assignment for years until you finally got bored enough to sign up to active duty, which is the fun stuff. So, list of assignments. We have the Department of Auditing. Okay. My God, you can be an assurance compliance officer. Well, just found out Chrono's one. Operations is the smallest part of the laundry. Yeah. Yeah. The rest of it is largely keeping operations afloat. But the people who go out and about are in the minority. So let's go to chapter 3. Right, assignment packages. Please link, sir. So yeah, you pick your day job. Each of the assignments has a brief description of what your character actually does day to day, your starting attributes, your initial skills, your core talents, starting optional talents, and a list of your equipment. So that, if I recall correctly, was there There we go. So we're currently on page 20, so remember that. So we want page 37 for this. Thank you for that. Keyboard, hello. Okay, day-to-day duties. I love the redacted. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just have a look at some of them. Okay, assignment format. So you have attributes. These are your starting values in body, mind, and spirit. They represent the average values of a character of that type and reflect the competency that the laundry would expect from an operative within that role. You're down to play a member of auditing. I am not in the slightest bit shocked. I really am not. And a big advantage of this structure, by the way, is because everyone can be from different departments, teams can be assembled on an ad hoc basis, depending on who's most suitable for each role. Which does mean, of course, it's geared very nicely for players to drop in and out. And if you're not available to play a scenario, your character just was busy or wasn't assigned. Which is a really nice way of doing it, which means I'm going to try and get people to create characters, and then they've got something if they happen to be available. You can choose to swap the value of 2 attributes if you so desire. Don't feel disheartened if your character's attributes are not super heroic or epic. There's always a chance to improve them with XP if they manage to survive their first few missions. Yes, If's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Skills. Assignments have a core skill, the most useful one within the role. Differences in training, specializations, or areas of interest will vary wildly in each assignment, but the core skill is something everyone in that position has in common. It is the baseline competency for that assignment, and often one that the assignment's other skills and talents are built from. So your character will start with training and focus 1 in their core skill. They also have a list of other skills to choose from, as well as a number of XP. You can spend this XP to learn new skills or improve your core. Right. Talents. Your character's assignment grants them 1 or more core talents. They're often at the heart of what the assignment can do, and are often how others define them. Within the team, you can find the sorcerer, the tech nerd, or the weapons expert, and this is often reflected in their talents. However, it's rude to just refer to your teammates as gun dude or spooky witch. It's best if you actually learn their names. Especially if they are the gun dude or the spooky witch, because you don't want to get on their bad side. I like this. I did have a quick read through the system, and I have to say, I think it works quite well for the setting. I was worried it was going to be too light, and then I looked at the number of skills, and I thought, yes, okay, I'm good with that. So skills appear to run from 1 to 4. I don't know if they can go higher than that. But again, dice pool game. Oh, was this bitten by Warhammer? Skill level 1 costs you 1 point. Skill level 2, 2, 3, 3. So yeah, it is incremental costs. And nicely, they've listed the total skill cost, the total XP cost of each level. Save people working it out. Which is nice. So level 4 skill will cost you 4 points to go from 3 to 4, or a flat 10 points. I'm assuming, however, you will have to work your way up after character creation. Focus, we're waiting to find out about. Again, though, we have the same costings. Some assignments have the same core talent, but how they use them may be radically different. Along with your core talents, you can select a number of other talents from a short list. These represent abilities and quirks that are common within that assignment. What this does is it stops you being bombarded with too many options. I can see people creating their first character using the standard assignments, and then once they get a little bit confident over the skills, the talents, and all the options, then I can see, future characters being custom. Or looking sideways at Fishy, I can see this going straight into custom. Using the assignments as they're written is the easiest way to get started, but the GM's discretion, you can make tweaks here and there to more closely align with your character concept. You can take skills or talents outside your assignment, switch to another department, take one fewer talent and spend the 4 XPs on skills, or spend some of your skill XPs on increasing your attributes. If you want to make substantial changes, though, it's probably easy just to go for a custom character. So I like that. Even if you're using the standards, you still can have that control, which is kind of nice. Right, so I'll buzz through. I'm not going to do these because it's already time is marching on. Sorry, I need a drink. Okay, so the role of the Department of Auditing is to triple down on the philosophy and of an insular workplace culture. Pardon me. And watch your every move, making sure you haven't been compromised on your recent mission, or starting acting out of character, or decide to sell government secrets to a death cult. This game does have a built-in safety valve for the people who choose it's what my character would do in order to be dickheads or mess with the GM. Which I don't think anybody I currently have the option of running for would. But they exist. They walk among us. We know they do. Because if you act too RC, you will get disciplined. And if you get disciplined too often, the auditors do have ways and means. And you'll be rolling up a new character. Okay, so Auditor Secretary. Your performance is based on accurate records of investigations and employee interviews. You've seen firsthand what happens to those who defy your superiors, deliberately or otherwise. And you make sure your own work never crosses that threshold. So, an auditor secretary, audited to within an inch of your life, takes on more meaning here. Oh boy, it does. The auditors have abilities, and they are scary. So you start with 2 body, 3 mind, 2 spirit. Your core skill is intuition. Interesting. And then you've got 12 XPs to spend on academics, awareness, bureaucracy, magic, occult, presence, reflexes, resolve, and seal. Your core talent is insightful interrogator. And then you get to pick 2 of bad cop, eidetic memory, intimidating manner, misfiler. I'm looking forward to looking what that is. Observant, red tape, ruthless, speed reading, and status. And you start in the standard. You have a notebook, pens, laptop, personal ward, and a warrant card. Used to be an auditor. You can confirm that things happen. Enough. Financial control. An accountant. As an accountant, you find financial anomalies and determine if incompetence, malfeasance, or dark forces are interfering with the laundry's continued financial health. An added bonus is you get to bore your fellow employees over cafeteria food with tales of actuarial daring-do as they stare into their lukewarm tea and limp salads, wondering where it all went wrong. So by comparison, an accountant will start. They've got the academic skill. Their core talent is mental arithmetic. That's really quite dangerous, actually, in the laundry. And I will buzz to assurance compliance because I can see that's kind of crawling over to Chrono. You help your fellow employees follow the labyrinthine and sometimes contradictory rules. They're also the point of the spear for any changes management deems worthy, replacing the last game-changing initiative that didn't change anything, before being replaced by an entirely new form of synergy. These duties can be gentle prodding conversations, lengthy company-wide surveys, or endless email chains. Oh god, I'm having flashbacks. They start with the core skill bureaucracy. Their core talent is project planning. And they can then choose from departmental liaison, dogged pursuer, expert coordinator, helpful misfiler, observant, red tape, and speed reading. Speed reading's a thing. So that's what the auditors get up to. You have the Department of Arcana Analysis, Counter-Possession Exorcist. Your job is to look deep into your colleague's eyes, decide if it's really them, and act accordingly. Counter-Possession has a substantial black budget and the authority to poke its nose in any and all laundry missions. You won't enjoy the dark places of the soul your job requires you to delve into, but at least the road there is relatively smooth. That's kind of a fun one. I like that. Oh yeah, absolutely. They list the ISO certifications. Okay, so yeah, that's the counter-possession. Cultural attaché. Laundry does not exist in a vacuum. Several rooms with do not enter on their doors notwithstanding, just as SIS, or MI6, has the CIA, DGSE, and CSIS as allies, and the FSB, China's Ministry of State Security, and others as adversaries. Oh god, it's a period piece. Each of these nation-states has their own occult divisions working to prevent the unthinkable. And so, yeah, cultural attaché is you're the one who deals with the others. You're dealing with the other countries, the other forces. You get to understand who they are, what they're doing, and act against them if necessary. The Benthic Treaty of 1953 was a landmark agreement between humans and Blue Hades, don't call them mermaids ever, and remains an essential model as the world fractures. Yeah. If it was going to appear in any RPG chrono, it had to be this one. Laundry baskets, special projects. They tend to get the weird jobs. That one I would be inclined to say I'd wait until you've got your feet under you and played it a few times. Department of Field Support. Ad hoc teams, specialised units drawn together from the laundry's active agents and non-magical resources like the SIS, like the SAS even. Not SIS, that's something else. SO15 and intelligence sandbaggers. Never more than a phone call away. They can be anywhere in London in 30 minutes or in the mainland UK within 4 hours, including the mandatory clean-up and witness memory wipes. You can be a cleaner. I wouldn't be averse to someone creating a cultural attaché as a second character. I'd be quite happy to have people having multiple characters for this. But I would be loath to have it as an initial one, because they tend to be where it needs to involve other bodies for them really to be relevant. So, cleaners are who you call when it all goes south and there are tentacles all over the floor and inconvenient witnesses. There's more to a cleaner than crime scene janitorial duties. If you need living people to vanish, whether it's an individual requiring witness protection or an entire town everyone swears they visited once but can't recall the location, the cleaners were probably involved. They are stealthy and can infiltrate practically any government office or private business to fix or disappear records or evidence. There were always witnesses, and their imperfect memories unable to recall precisely what happened because the cleaners got to them first. A memory wipe is the equivalent of a psychological field dressing, but when the team has to evacuate a scene quickly, it gets the job done. I quite like them. That's basically why the laundry, generally speaking, does not appear all over the front pages of the newspaper. It's because the cleaners get him. Oculus. Occult Control Coordination Unit Liaison Unconventional Situations. Oculus team members tend more towards fatigues, bulletproof vests, and military-class wards, but the mix of tough-as-nails troops and high-level sorcerers screaming down back roads on the way to an unexplainable incident in an armour-plated hell wagon does evoke kick-ass vibes. They are called in for two different situations. Something's about to go very bad very quickly, or something has already turned awful and civilian laundry employees need to be rescued. And then mocked mercilessly once the appropriate foes are quelled or felled. They're your combat monsters. Your plumbers. Despite the negative associations of the title with Richard Nixon's squad of ineffectual burglars, the plumbers are the field sorcery unit, specialising in exorcism, memory suppression, counter-possession and banishings. They're called to deal with possession outbreaks or when witnesses must be convinced they saw nothing unusual. So they will be working with the cleaners. Department of Human Resources. You have the Inhuman Resource Liaison. So, laundry employees aren't necessarily Homo sapiens, alive, or a combination thereof, though the majority of staff do walk upright. The shambling wrecks on the lower levels, busy filing and pushing texts around dusty libraries, used to be human, but as they decay, the extra-dimensional feeders of the night riding their minds tighten their grip and flush away all trace of their former selves. There's also the Eater of Souls, but thankfully it confines itself to one vessel at a time. The Benthic Treaty and other agreements also result in cultural exchanges and work shadowing within the purview of each party's secrecy protocols. While the CIA's Black Chamber is the closest analogue to the laundry, it's much more secretive, if such a thing is possible, and while many suspect the Chamber relies on and exploits non-humans to its own ends, there have not been enough collaboration between the two organisations to produce anything more than gossip. So that's the person who works with the Inhumans, or is one themselves. You've got your medic, which is fairly self-explanatory. You've got your zombie wrangler. Residual human resources, zombies, need to be handled somehow, and they're the ones who know how to do it. The library, for example, is quite often staffed with residual human resources, and so are the night watchmen. Department of Internal Logistics. The backbone of the laundry and the such is twisted, overly complex, and much like any creature burdened with a lot of weight, bending to the point of almost breaking. It's where you go to requisition the physical resources you need, but to do so you'll have to marshal your mental resources for the endless push and pull of requisition forms, disapproving glares, and friendly reminder emails that such items must be returned in good time and in perfect condition. So, Armory Clerk, Computer Help Desk, Courier, they're all fairly self-explanatory. Counter-subversion officer. Very Cold War. So counterintelligence, basically. Researcher, again, fairly standard. Operational oversight invigilator. Long-term hole plugging falls under the rubric of operational oversight. If you've lost a weapon in a raid or a known cultist trail runs cold, expect a visit from the OO and a hellish email chain as a follow-up as a bare minimum. They're your internal security. They're the ones who want a word when it all goes sideways, and then will determine whether or not you get disciplined further up the line. Glossing over Bailiff of the Black Assizes, because we're not going there yet. Apprentice Demonologist. Okay. Veterans of the laundry know that keeping on the good side of contracts and bindings employees makes their life easier, since for many the department is a stepping stone to other areas of the laundry, and they tend to remember who treated them well. Contracts and bindings employees have a ground level view of everything going on in the organisation, and so are great sources of office gossip. Straight up investigator, so think police investigator there. Internal affairs, which I'm not calling infernal affairs, and I entirely blame Slay for. Then you got the Department of Records, because keeping records of things and people and artifacts is a huge chunk of what the laundry has done. So you've got your curator, a clerk or a researcher, computational demonology researcher, Department of Research and Development. Computational demonology develops and expands a magical theory which in practical terms involves playing with the sort of fire that predates humankind and may one day extinguish it. In the early analogue days of magic, only a select few could do the calculations required to summon up low-level demons or move objects using their mind. But with the advent of powerful supercomputers paired with exceptionally intelligent, focused nerd wizards, all bets are off. I had a feeling, IRM. While it's vital to continue to study and create new and traumatic forms of magic, all work must be done with an abundance of caution, lest it brings us to the attention of the older things, forsaken gods, or any number of multiversal enemies for whom magic is their stock and trade. Computational demonology also creates field spells and summonings, and can be called upon to reverse engineer spells, nullify curses, disarm live containment grids, or create mass illusions to fool the public into an unwarranted sense of calm and well-being. Occult forensics analyst. These are still all your day jobs. Magical CSI, basically. Boffin. Q Division. Work it out for yourself. They're the ones who are making the weird shit. So let's have a quick buzz into the way skills work, and then we'll head back to the character creation. 24 skills in total, which cover a broad range of knowledge and ability and define what you're good at. For example, an archaeologist who specialises in researching ancient civilizations should most certainly have training and focus in academics, while a smooth-talking spy might have focus on fast talk or stealth. He once wanted to work in CSI, but in France the exam to get in is punishing. Oh! Good lord, 2 to 4 spots nationally per year. If you're untrained in the skill, it means you have no formal training or competence. You can still attempt it, but you're not going to do as well as someone who knows what they're doing. However, when you're lying in the pool of your own blood, unable to help yourself, you'll take any help you can get. Perfectly reasonable. If you're untrained, use your base attribute value to determine your dice pool when making a skill test. So, yeah, untrained works. I have no idea what I'm doing. If your character is untrained in the skill, your GM may decide that you cannot attempt a test which uses it. This most often comes into play for tests that are particularly complex, or even complex, or rely on very specialised knowledge, such as using computers to create a backdoor into a server, or magic to cast a tentacled nightmare back to another reality. Yeah. So. Oh, you did, Alia. I like that. I mean, I would always have that anyway. There are some things that you can't just bludge your way through. Even with untrained skills available to you. If your GM allows you to make a test like this, despite being untrained, you should come up with an interesting reason for how your character managed to pull it off. Just how did Reginald from accounts successfully field strip a jammed Glock? Maybe they read about it in a book, watched another character do it, or simply kept clicking and sliding things until it worked. Or they then admit that actually they're from a completely different department, and then you're into a whole new ballgame. If you have training in the skill, you've received some level of formal instruction, or have an inherent affinity for it. You may have learned the skill through your education, previous career, or during one of the aforementioned training courses management loves sending you on. Being trained doesn't mean you'll never fail, but at least you know the theory behind what you're trying to do. Each level of training in a skill adds an additional die to your dice pool when making a test with that skill. Exactly, anyone can try and nail 2 bits of wood together, not everyone can try and program a UI. Exactly, fish. And as I said, although any experienced GM is obviously going to be able to say, look, no, don't be silly. On some tests, I appreciate it being there for the less experienced GMs who might otherwise feel that they've got to let anybody try anything. No, you cannot jump to the moon. You can have training in a skill up to 3 times, with each level granting an additional die, so that gives you your 1 to 4. This reflects your honing your abilities. So gaining training in the skill or increasing your level of training costs XP is explained on page 34. Okay, fine. So the example given here is Simon, an IT help desk clerk, has a pistol in hand and a reanimated corpse shambling towards him that thinks Simon's cranium is its lunch. Simon has body 2, training 1, with the range skill, giving him a dice pool of 3d6 against a difficulty number of 4. Simon rolls, getting 2, 2, and 5, achieving 1 success. Simon successfully hits the corpse and makes a mental note to thank his firearms instructor Harry for teaching him the business end of a gun. But I rolled a natural 20. Oh god, yes, fish. Yeah. If you have focus in the skill, it means you've dedicated time and energy to practicing it and are less likely to make mistakes. You can't afford to make mistakes when you're summoning creatures from alien realities or filing another questionable expense form. So each level of focus gives you a +1 bonus to the result of a single die when you make a test. Oh, I like that. You can focus in the skill up to 3 times, with each focus adding an additional +1 bonus. These bonuses can be applied to the results of several dice, separate dice, or combined into a single bonus for any one. Oh yeah, no, we like that. That's good. That is cool. Yep. So yeah, you can focus lets you tweak your dice up. So you can get a better success, or you can pull it out of the fire if need be, and just nudge 1 die over the line. Example, Simon, the IT help desk clerk, has focus 2 in close combat, handy as he's out of ammo and 1 shambling reanimated corpse remains. I'm noticing a lot of shambling reanimated corpses here. Did you hear variable difficulty? That sounds suspiciously like variable difficulty to me. He has body 2 and rolls 2 and 4, gaining 1 success. Using his focus 2 in close combat skills, he can increase 2 results by 1 each, or 1 result by 2. He adds both bonuses onto the 2, increasing it to 4, giving him a second success. I believe we are looking at variable difficulty. I will, however... that's probably in the supervisor's guide. Give me a mo. The basics. Math is magic. Magic is dangerous. Paperwork can be worse. When to roll, when not to roll. Determining difficulties. There we go. Okay, in order to, as a GM, it's your job to set the difficulty number. The difficulty number remains the same no matter who is attempting the task. A slick cliff face is difficult to climb for anyone. I like that. That's nice. That saves you a lot of trouble. Okay, so difficulty 4 is average for most tasks. Ah, right, okay, so 4, 1. So you need 1 die coming up at 4. If a task is this easy, it's worth considering if you should be rolling at all. If you can think of a minor circumstantial complication, such as weather, terrain, or an NPC's disposition, increase the difficulty 1 step. So that would be difficulty number 5-1. Still pretty trivial for tasks with skill training, but if something improbable happens, you can point to what caused the failure. 6-1 really sorts the specialist from the layperson. It's only appropriate when something bizarre or incredible is going on, which may be common on a laundry field mission. If there is a serious extra obstacle, perhaps caused by cultural distance, the passage of time, magic, or a PC's personal history, increase complexity 1 step. Situations that may increase complexity also increase the difficulty. Difficulty number 5-2 is a respectable challenge for any starting character. So difficulty number 5, and you need 2 dice coming up at that. Complexity goes to 3 or 4 if a character's trying to get a lot done with distinct steps in a short amount of time. Beyond that, extended tests or group tests are usually more appropriate. We have group tests, we have cooperation, yay! Can we say threshold number and success target, children? I think we can. Yes, fish. This one I would like to point out is an equal to, not an exceed. For tests with a lot of granularity, e.g. how much do I know about this monster, set the complexity low and use degrees of success to determine the quality of the information or performance. Even horrendous difficulty number 6-6 tasks can be passed trivially by spending luck to maximize successes. If you think a task is literally impossible, do not make the roll. I like that. Yeah, that's really nice. An average person will likely roll 1 to 3 dice on any given test, while someone who is skilled at a particular task could roll 4 to 6. Most starting characters will have a dice pool ranging from 4 to 6, but as they earn XPs, these could get bigger. I like the dice. I like the little evil demon dice. I want one of them. Oh, bless your little cotton socks. We like that. Yes, we do. Yeah, all right, fish. You wrote the system 15 years ago. Not this system, obviously. Nice to see people catching on to it. Yeah. I've never seen the point in only adjusting one of the numbers. I like having the flexibility of adjusting both. It just appeals to me. It makes sense. So how is this sounding to people so far? And yes, we absolutely adore this table. Difficulty number 3-1, 1d6, easy, 2d6, very easy, 3d6, very easy, and then straight to there. If you've only got one die, you can go as high as a 6-1, obviously. Because 6-2 you simply can't do because you don't have the dice. That's nice. That is something that would definitely go on a character on a GM screen. And I am getting flashbacks to the Call of Cthulhu skill check system. Some issues, but mostly happy. There's more meat to it than I was concerned about. I was vaguely worried that there is more chunkiness than I thought there would be, and I'm very happy with that. Okay, going back to the operative book. If you have sufficient training or focus in a skill, your GM may decide that you automatically succeed at certain tasks that should be easy for someone of your aptitude. For example, if you have training 3 and focus 3 and might, you probably don't need to make a test to shoulder your way through a simple door, whereas an untrained or less proficient character would. That's GM common sense, but it is nice to see it written down. I have a PhD. Academics is the umbrella skill that represents your general knowledge across a wide variety of subjects. If you want to be an expert in a specific field, such as archaeology, linguistics, or non-Euclidean geometry, the scholar talent lets you do so. Nerd. Okay, right. So, let's go back to page 20, which is the character creation. Hello, can I please have my cat? Can I have my keyboard, thank you? You be archaeology. So far I've got somebody who wants to be working for the auditors. I strongly suspect compliance. Somebody who wants to be a computational demonologist. And somebody who wants to be an archaeologist, probably working for records. Anything appealing to you, Fish? Or are we leaping straight to custom? Right. Attributes. Now, I think they're fairly reasonable. Each attribute has a rating. Attribute ratings range from 1 to 4. So while most people would be using a dice pool of up to 6, you could theoretically get up to 8. Average is 2 in each attribute, with 1 being considered below average and 3 above. A rating of 4 represents truly exceptional people, with few humans able to push past this limit without arcane assistance or augmentation from Q division. The attribute rating determines your initial dice pool when making a test. In an SAS operative with body 4, for example, rolls 4d6 when making a body test. Attributes increase as you advance and grow, and may even decrease if you suffer a serious trauma or injury. For example, if somebody takes a chunk out of one of your arms. Body represents your character's physical strength, reflexes, and coordination. This was the only bit that had me slightly worried, lumping everything together, but the talents and the skills, I think, smooth it out for me. You're the reads everything sort, and you're the lick the science sort. Okay. Mind represents your character's deductive reasoning, perception, and awareness, as well as their ability to think on their feet. Characters with a high mind are often studious, quick-witted, and inquisitive, and can often think their way around problems. Okay, so body governs your effectiveness in close combat and defense. Mind covers your ability with ranged weapons. And your initiative. It's how fast can you think, not just how fast can you move. Okay, I've got to take a very brief break. I will be back in about 10 seconds. Well, no, about a minute, I think. Bob. A sec. Sorry about that. Many apologies. Oh dear. Many apologies there. Back to live. Sorry, there was someone at the door. Attribute-wise, this is basically the tri-stat system, yeah, as used in Besom and Silver Age Sentinels, yeah. Okay, where are we? So your mind also includes your perceptiveness, your natural awareness. Spirit. Sense of self, drive and determination, as well as their presence and force of will. Characters with high spirit are frequently leaders or the face of the team, accomplished managers and those fully assured in their own methods and abilities. Your character's spirit? I don't know what your character's spirit is. Your character's spirit affects their ability to push beyond normal limits and potential to use supernatural abilities. Your attributes are determined by your assignment. These starting attributes are representative of a typical employee in that assignment. This not being a level-based system, you don't start utterly incompetent and ready to get smashed. Because they're only level 1 to 4, even if you start with 2 or 3 and something, you're not bad or anything. You are good, you're either average or above average. You've still got that wiggle room to be a specialist and improve. They reflected a certain level of competency. This is not always the case. After all, they may have lied on their CV. But it's unlikely they'll stay in an assignment too long if they're not competent in their role. Once you've chosen your assignment, you can move on to skills and talents. If you'd like to modify your starting attributes, you may choose to swap the value of 2 attributes before moving on. That's reasonable. Lets you tweak, and not everybody in every job role is going to be the same. Wow, that screams middle manager to me. Also, it screams, I think I had that phone. That's embarrassing. Looks like the Motorola flippy phone. Skills represent a character's competency and experience, while talents are unique abilities and tricks your character has learned. So we've been through what the levels of skills mean, so we can skip over that to a certain extent. Poor old Simon is searching for a post-it with important file numbers on it. It's in his cubicle somewhere. He makes a mind awareness check and gets a 1, 2, 5 and 5. This gives him 2 successes. However, Simon also has focus 2 in awareness, meaning he can increase 2 separate results by 1 or 1 by 2. He decides to apply both bonuses to the same die, increasing the result of 2 to 4. This gives him 3 successes. He finds the post-it note stuck to the back of his ECDL workbook. Okay, talents. Your assignment lists your primary talent. You begin the game with this, and it may be used as a shorthand for what your assignment does. As you advance, you gain access to more talents by spending XPs. You amuse the settings based in the time before you became a properly conscious human, before being a person was a concern. God. Fine. Calling the GM old is not necessarily a survival trait. For your character. As you advance, okay, so many talents have requirements you must need to meet to purchase them, such as your assignment, an attribute rating, or possessing the right equipment. As you create your character, it's a good idea to look through the talents in Chapter 4, training, to see which will be exciting and fun to you, and plan what skills or attributes you will need. So yeah, you are encouraged to look ahead. Back in a time when you were already middle-aged. I know, Fish, I'm trying not to think about it. Equipment. Being sent on dangerous missions will often require specialist equipment and tools. From the earliest incarnation of the iPhone? I have no idea what the hell I just said. Excuse me, I need a drink. I am clearly water deprived. From the earliest incarnation of the iPhone, tooled up with occult apps, to the Hand of Glory, which effectively makes you invisible. All of these cool gadgets, along with a vast arsenal of weaponry, are available for your character, but you don't start with them. It's going to take a lot of paperwork and requisition forms for you even to get a look at such cool gadgetry. Anything this millennium was only last week, right? Yeah. I had one of those clunk moments, Fish, when I referred to something in the 90s as 10 years ago, and then I was sat there going, no, that's not right. Your assignment, if you're lucky, will list a few starting items to add to your equipment. They're usually small pieces of equipment like a laptop, notebook, phone, or Palm Pilot. Do we all remember the Palm Pilot, children? I found my Scion Sienna the other day. I am tempted to see if the bloody thing still boots. Maybe even a Tupperware lunchbox. Recommended. It's better to bring your own than rely on the canteen lunch selection. Specialist equipment will need to be requisitioned. That's fair. Your character sheet now has an assignment and a load of numbers on it, but that really doesn't tell the GM or laundry management who you actually are. So, first things first, you can't fill in any of these important laundry forms and paperwork without a name. Luckily you have one of those, don't you? It doesn't have to be your real name. After all, Bob Howard isn't really his name, and we all know of his exploits in the laundry, even if you're not really cleared to know. And you don't think Pinky and Brains are their real names either, do you? The key to laundry work is not to be noticed. One of the things in the laundry is basically names have power. So you don't flash your true name around. So the narrator in the early books is Bob Howard, except it isn't. We don't know what his real name is. Nicknames and codenames. Often it's useful to have a nickname your fellow operatives can say quickly, which is especially useful when you're calling for assistance, as that pack of reanimated corpses is trying to feast on your sweetmeats. Definitely got the thing about reanimated corpses. It's also easier to remember. So, anyone who's ever played Shadowrun, think street name. If you decide to give your character a nickname, think about where nicknames come from. Usually they're a shortening of a part of a name. Oh, that's not something you see often. His real name is Classified Redacted. Ah, yes, from the Surrey Classified Redacteds. Hyphenated, obviously. Reanimated corpses come up a lot. Actually, they do. Dominique O'Brien, for example, is nicknamed Mo, or as simple as Andrew being shortened to Andy. It could be for some other reason, like how Boris the Mole is nicknamed that due to his thick Russian accent, or Richard Stevenson from Payroll is known as Dick. After a few missions, you can even be assigned a code name should your work become classified and require clearance even to know your missions exist. Like other code names, they're always in all caps, like Charlie Victor, Agent Candid, or Bashful Incendiary. The laundry does not care what you look like. It doesn't matter what background you're from, what ethnicity you are, what gender you are, or how old you are. However, adding these details to your character can help you define what they're like. That's nice. Yep, we don't care. You're in, you're stuck in, you're not leaving. What you actually look like is largely irrelevant. Age doesn't have a particular impact on your character, though the older your character is, the more likely they are to put their back out from sitting hunched over a computer all day. While older characters may not be able to party all night like they're used to, they can be more sensible and less prone to taking stupid risks. Oh boy. The laundry recruits from all ages, usually not by choice, but because the characters have been exposed to occult threats. If you have an idea of how old your character is, fill that in, or roll 3d6 plus 15 to determine age randomly. Yeah, we like that. Distinguishing features, like Mo's height and freckles, Ramona's unnatural beauty, or Bob's bobness. You could have a scar, a cool tattoo, a haircut that's completely out of fashion, always wear the same outfit, or be afflicted with an unintentionally sarcastic tone of voice. The more striking you are, the more your character will stand out in a crowd and may be noticed by the enemy. I'm getting flashbacks now to the James Bond RPG, where being average was incredibly expensive. appearance-wise, but being drop-dead gorgeous, cheap as chips, leaving you more points to spend on skills. Man at CNA was really expensive. Yeah, fish. Eyes are good, not necessarily to the work, but they come in handy. They say having more than 2 eyes is good so you can see people coming up behind you, but extra sets of eyes are usually frowned upon and will get you sent to the medical research labs to determine exactly which extra-dimensional entity has granted you these additional organs. Okay. A good haircut can make a great first impression, and a tactically long haircut can act as a screen between you and the Order to trying to gaze into your soul. If you can't think of things, there's a handy-dandy random table if you wanted to do assignment, if you can't come up with your own definition of features and things. A little bit concerned about the tentacle tattoo. Goals are your character's ambitions, hopes and dreams. You choose one short-term goal and one long-term goal for your character. When you achieve them, you'll be rewarded with XPs you can spend to improve your character's abilities. So, Cubicle 7 do Warhammer then. Because that is straight out of Warhammer. Obsessively pursuing the mystery of who used my mug tells us a lot about the individual embarked on the quest. Oh my god. Who keeps nicking my lunch from the departmental fridge? That would be a good short-term goal. Choosing goals. Okay, short-term goals. Realistically can be accomplished in the near future under a month. They should change regularly as you achieve them and should be something you can achieve in 2 to 3 game sessions. That's nice. Managing to get through the Gantt chart. Managing to get that Gantt chart finally finished, even though Windows 95 hates you. Managing to book a couple of days of holiday during the school break. My god. Build up your resilience so you no longer throw up when you accidentally meet a member of security when you get to the office early. Or it could be something you really want to achieve at home, like finding Mrs. Dobson's cat who's been missing from your neighbour's house for a week. Asking that barista from the trendy new coffee shop out on a date. Actually going back to the gym for the first time since you bought that New Year's membership in the New Year's resolution. Buying some new clothes so that people don't keep staring at the faded Wargame t-shirt. Finally defrost the freezer so you can get to the ice cream. I'm sorry. I love the idea that characters exist outside their jobs as well as outside the urgent missions. I love characters with lives. I don't necessarily want it to be a slice of life. Definitely don't want it to be a slice of life simulator. That would just be... No, that just wouldn't work for this. And it doesn't have to be, stay-at-home stroking a cat simulator. Just having that element of you have a home, you have a life. The faded Wargames t-shirt stays. Yes. Fair enough. But just having the element of you have a life, you have a flat, you have a home. You have to interact with reality sometimes. There's references in the books to the fact that at one point, I think Bob and his wife Mo they need shopping, and the security on the laptop won't let them do home delivery, so they have to pop out to Tesco. So you just have this little scene of a conversation that happens while they're on their way back from Tesco's, and one of them's packing the gun and discussing how best to carry the shopping so that they can get to the gun in a hurry. Stuff like that. These people are people. There's enough space to let these people be people without making them without making that the focus of the whole game. And this is really appealing to me. Where are we? Okay, let's wrap this up a little bit. Long-term goals, something your character hopes to achieve in the distant future. It's going to take weeks, months, or even their entire career. Possibly lifelong works of crafting or engineering, things of great importance that could change their career or life completely and can be their motivating force. Get promoted to senior management so you don't have to take orders anymore. Prove yourself as a field agent. Get yourself a nice cushy desk job that's nice and safe. Finally buy your own place to live. Oh, we're into Fantasyland, I see. Finish your master's degree with the university evening classes. Train to get that pilot's license. Learn another language, a useful one that doesn't make your eyes itch when you read the text. Find your true soulmate. So, achieving a short-term goal gets you 1 XP. And you choose a new one at the end of the session. Achieving a long-term goal, you receive 10 XP. Yeah, exactly what I said. Yeah, precisely. And that's a really good explanation of them as well. You can choose to retire your character, who then becomes an NPC under the GM's control. They continue to work at the laundry and may be encountered wandering the halls in the future, safe in a nice desk job. In addition to this, you receive half the total XP your current character to spend on a new character. Potentially. So yeah, if you achieve your long-term goal, they can retire and give you a leg up on your next character. Once you retire a character, they may become a trusted NPC, feeding the character's information or attempting to pull strings for their old team. If you'd like to bring back your character out of retirement for one last job, talk to your GM about the best way to do this. Yeah, I know. NPC under the GM's control is redundant. Yeah, I know. You're into who's your line manager? What does your team typically do? Short-term KPIs. Key performance indicators. Shut down a cult's operation before they can summon the Eater of Souls. Establish airtight covers to infiltrate the workplace of a corporate headquarters. Remove the power source of a strangely sentient computer. Track down the serial killer in Basildon, who seems to be displaying unnatural abilities. Break into the stacks to retrieve the classified file that could help with a more complex case. Short-term KPI for your team should not be the same as any character's personal goal, should apply to the whole team, and can be achievable in a few weeks or a few sessions. Yeah, exactly, Alia. It gives somebody a chance to move on to a new character. Short-term KPIs do not necessarily have to relate to the team's current mission, although often this makes sense, especially as KPIs are work-related. Okay, so yeah, basically it's short and long-term goals. Then we have team building exercises. How do they know each other? This is a 2d6, isn't it? So-and-so met me on the laundry training course. So-and-so was a friend of my sibling, helped me with a recent work project. Dated so-and-so's sibling, always happy to see so-and-so. Caught so-and-so filing incorrect paperwork. Basically, how do they know each other? Everybody has the how do they know each other. That's nice. If you can't come up with it on your own, they provide a handy-dandy table. And then your basics are your personality. Oh. Okay. Luck and threat. That surprises me. Laundry employees usually have to rely on their skills and talents to survive on active operational duty. Sometimes innate abilities are not enough, and they have to rely on that unquantified element called luck. Now, we know what luck is. We don't have to go into a definition of it. Whatever the reason, your team has an amount of luck that can be used when you're in a tight scrape or desperate situation. On your team sheet, there's a space where you can record the team's luck. If you're playing in the same location, you can use counters or jelly beans to keep track of how much luck your team has remaining. Good luck with that. Your team's luck at the start of the game is equal to the number of characters in the team, not including your line manager. However, remember we mentioned the strange cosmic balance of the universe. Balancing things out, the impending doom you can feel is represented by threat. Threat's the growing dread you can feel, almost like there's a foreboding bass note constantly playing in the background. The sense that the possessed killer is waiting just around the corner. The tingling sensation as you're convinced that someone's watching you through an inactive webcam. And, of course, that sense of helplessness that is inevitable because you know Case Nightmare Green is only a handful of years away. Threat is a gauge of how dangerous the world is becoming. As the threat increases, enemies become more powerful, faster, and dangerous. The world's literally going to hell. Best your team tries to stop threat from spiraling out of control. Threat starts at 1 at the beginning of the game. Who's your line manager? Your team's been assembled for a purpose, though there's a good chance that if successful, they'll be called again for future missions. Assembling your team as a line manager. You may have other managers, you may even have more than one line manager, just as Bob was sent on multiple missions by Angleton and then recruited for a particularly dangerous mission by Gerald Lockhart. The GM will probably have a line manager in mind for your team as you're generating your characters. During the first session, your characters will be introduced to your line manager as you're assembled and briefed for the first time. So that's your point of contact with the organisation. That's the person who is pulling strings on your behalf, feeding you information, giving you a briefing. I like that. That works. And then you have some derived skills, derived numbers. I do not aim with my hand, I aim with my eye. Your melee shuns an M on this character sheet, represents how formidable your character is in close combat. Add your body plus your level of training. Check the result on the ladder. We have another lookup table. And note this on your character sheet. Do we have the ladder? Yes. So we go from 1, you have no idea what you're doing, to 12, you have superhuman or supernatural proficiency. 2 to 3 is average in total for melee. Okay. Your armor is determined by the clothes and protective gear you're wearing and represents the damage you can shrug off when you're attacked. You're not normally assigned armor, and when it is assigned, it's usually just a standard issue combination ballistic stab vest. When you're hit, you reduce the amount of damage you'd take by your armor. Okay. Example, Bill is not wearing armor, giving him an armor of 0. Your toughness represents cuts, bruises, bumps and scrapes. Damage is not life-threatening, and you can typically recover from your wounds after a period of rest and recuperation. Your toughness is mind plus body plus spirit. Oh, right, okay. And some talents can increase your toughness. Calculate Bill's toughness. Arjun adds his body, mind, and spirit together, giving him a toughness of 7. Oh no. Well, at least you can still see and presumably hear Alia. I'm sorry about the ads. When your toughness has been reduced to 0 and you take further damage, then you suffer an injury. Yeah, I'm getting strong Warhammer vibes off this. Injuries represent serious harm that can become life-threatening. Your character can only take a certain number of injuries before being overwhelmed and pushed to the brink of death. Wahaha. Your character sheet has an injury track. Your maximum injuries are equal to body, mind, and spirit divided by 2, rounding up. Once you've calculated your maximum injuries, leave that many spaces on the injury track free, shade in the rest. Most starting characters have 4 spaces. Just divide toughness by 2? Nope. The calculation for your injuries is similar to toughness. It is important to note you do not divide toughness by 2 when calculating injuries. Injuries and toughness are calculated independently, as some talents and powers may affect one but not the other. That's worth remembering. I could see that being an easy mistake to make. Initiative is equal to your mind plus your level of training in the awareness and reflexes skills. Okay. Highest initiative going first. Natural awareness represents your character's inherent perception of the world around them. It functions as assumed successes, so it's passive perception. Means on the typical mind awareness test, you would be expected to achieve that many successes. This is useful for spotting hidden items or locations without actively searching. Oh, I like that. Yes, we like that indeed. And also determines the complexity of the test for anyone trying to sneak past you. Your natural awareness is equal to your mind plus your level of training and awareness, with the total divided by 2, rounding up. Example, Bill's mind is 2 and he has training 1 in awareness, which gives him a natural awareness of 2. So if you happen to be in a room with a concealed safe, and if you were looking for it, it would take 2 successes to find. Bill could just go, it's over there behind that picture. Adrenaline represents your... passive perception indeed, yeah. Represents your fight or flight response kicking in. It's your will to survive and your ability to push beyond your limits. Adrenaline is a finite resource used to fuel some talents, but primarily used during combat. Your adrenaline... Oh, that gives you extra actions. Your adrenaline is equal to your spirit divided by 2, rounding up. Okay. And we don't need to mess with XPs just yet. And we have a very nice, clearly, in my humble opinion, inspired by Call of Cthulhu, explanation of what the sections of the character sheet are and how to fill them in. We like that game. So let's go to the talents. Where you get assigned your primary talent for your assignment. Tried too many assignments in that sentence. And then you can usually pick 1 or 2 extra. Okay, where are we? Skills and talents, I believe that was on... Okay, I need the character test. I need the contents, please. Talents, page 66. Oh, bless their hearts, they've hyperlinked the contents page. Thank you. We'll skip over the definitions of skills because pretty much they're going to be self-explanatory. Talents are unique abilities, tricks and quirks you've learned throughout your life or you're just naturally adept at. Could be you're particularly good at visualizing computer coding or have a natural affinity for throwing things accurately from months of chucking crumpled memos into the bin. You may be resilient when it comes to taking a punch or able to digest a 3-day-old takeaway from that fried chicken place without the agonizing stomach cramps. Now, that sounds real. All of these abilities are talents, and not only do they make your character feel unique, but they can give them an edge in dangerous situations. Your assignment gives you a number of talents to choose from, a core talent and a selection of recommended ones suitable to your assignment. And then you can buy more with XPs. Each talent costs 4 XPs and some can be taken multiple times. Again, but yeah, Izzy Soapfish, old school. Okay, a number of talents have requirements such as needing a particular level of training or focus, or even working in a particular assignment. You must meet these requirements in order to learn the talent. At the GM's discretion, they can allow you to take a talent even if you don't meet the requirements, but it must be justified narratively. Acute senses, needing training level 1 in awareness. One of your senses is highly developed, allowing you to spot what others might miss. Choose from sight, sound, touch, taste and smell. When making an awareness test using that sense, the dice gained from training is doubled. You also may get the chance to make awareness tests others can't, such as to smell poison in food or to see things beyond others' sight. Well, that could go south, couldn't it? Affinity with intricacies. Requires focus in dexterity and focus in either engineering or technology. You have a natural aptitude with the inner workings of intricate devices like locks, clockwork, automatons, gizmos, and gadgets. You can double the bonus gained from any focus in the skill being tested. That's nice. So yeah, some of the things affect how your training in skills works. Some of them affect how your focus works, because they are two different things. Ambidextrous. When you're dual wielding and make an attack, add a d6 to your total dice pool between splitting the dice for each weapon. Enchanted Order 567224B, give me sight beyond sight. Yes. Animal friend. No. Well, no, actually, that gives... And it's you being an animal friend. It's not that it gives you an animal friend. You have a natural affinity for animals and they tend to like you. You have an advantage on tests when trying to get an animal to follow your commands or earn its trust, which is especially handy when trying to get past guard dogs. I have to check what advantage means on this. Additionally, you naturally know what an animal wants or what might be causing it stress or harm. What do you mean, Skippy? Little Tom's fallen down the well again? Applied anatomy. Applying your experience with physiology and its vulnerabilities enables you to inflict more grievous harm. When you successfully hit a living creature with an attack, add 1 damage for each 6 rolled on the attack. This additional damage cannot exceed your training or focus in medicine. Ouch! So you need to be trained and focused in medicine. But, yeah, then they know exactly where to hit you. Oh, I like that. Backup plan. Even the best laid plans don't always work out, so you know having a backup plan is important. If you fail the test and one of the dice rolled was a 1, you can re-roll the test, but its complexity increases by 1. You cannot re-roll the test more than once in this way, and you must take a breather or complete a rest before you can use it again. Odd job. You can constantly experimenting with equipment and technology to create new improvised devices, like rewiring a radio to detect electromagnetic fields, or cannibalizing a microwave to scramble eggs without breaking the shell. These dubious gizmos can prove very tricky, very useful in a sticky situation. You can build yourself a common weapon or piece of conventional spy gear in the field using whatever materials you have to hand. The difficulty number to create it is the same as it would be to requisition it from HQ, but the test uses mind, engineering or technology instead of bureaucracy. The device is rendered non-functional after 1 hour of use. You can do that once per mission. Computational Sorcerer. I'm just buzzing through the ones that look interesting. You're trained in the use of computer-generated formulae to open doorways to other dimensions. You gain the ability to cast spells using computational sorcery or mental magic, per the rules in the Words Have Power chapter. When you first acquire this talent, use 4 spells that you know how to cast. They may be specified by your archetype. You can buy this talent multiple times, with each purchase after the first allowing you to choose 2 more spells you know. Clairvoyance, allowing you to see distant locations. You can do the whole remote viewing thing. Collected, and keep your wits about you even in dire circumstances. Resisting the attempts of being stunned due to failing a test or being supernaturally stricken with confusion. I think most of the Oculus lot have that. Yeah, layout error on collected, yes. I know. What are we on? Contortionist, conditioned to fight? Counselor. You can help people pull themselves together in a crisis. Counterattack. Covering fire. Creator. The process of creating with your hands comes naturally to you. Whether it's crafting a sculpture, creating a winch system, or building a motherboard. curiouser and curiouser. You have an eye for finding details and clues, which is ideal when you're in the field investigating the weirdest and darkest threats. Data Wrangler. You can find trends and patterns in streams of data. Buzz on through this. Face in the crowd. Some people are just so comfortable with their surroundings or have mastered the training necessary required to blend in with those around them, they can fade into the background and not be noticeable. This may mean you know what to wear to blend in, or you can simply avoid drawing attention to yourself. Even if you are noticed, when witnesses try to describe you, they struggle to recall anything that would easily identify you. When trying not to be spotted by people or cameras, any stealth test is at advantage. I'll have to check. Yeah, I will have to check what advantage actually means. You feel magic is going to be the thing that lets this down? I don't know. Possibly. A lot of the things that would be lumped under magic have been spread out into the different talents. So empathic, you're eerily receptive for other people's feelings. And of course that genuinely is empathy. It's not simply, I'm very empathic. Magic was actually a thingy. It was actually a thing. Hang on. License. Few civil servants in London make enough to justify the expense of owning their own vehicle. Oh my god, it's having a driver's license. If you choose motorcycle, bikes or cars, you own your own civilian vehicle. That's actually a thing in London. The knowledge. The knowledge is a talent. Of course it bloody is. Oh, that's brilliant. You know your way around the city. Oh, you optimist, Chrono. You know your way around the city and can easily find your bearings. You know which tube line connects to which and the quickest way to get from A to B. Mental arithmetic. When you have to do the working out on a computer or on paper, you have the knack of making difficult calculations in your head. This is handy if you have to make calculations to form a Donar curve in 5 dimensions in order to summon a sleeping god. You gain advantage on any mind academics test involving mathematics or calculation. And negate the complexity penalty of casting spells with mental magic. Let's buzz to page 141 and have a quick look at the magic system before I wrap up. Dear. Please can I have my keyboard back? Thank you. Sorry, my keyboard's set to power saving. It's a bit keen. Okay. Whee! Using magic. Spellcasting procedures. When it comes to break the laws of physics and cast a spell, you take the following steps. Choose your casting method, choose your spell, make a magic test, resolve the spell success or failure. And we are addressing K syndrome, which is basically using your own brain to cast spells instead of using a computer, which causes your brain to dissolve. Casting methods. The options are computational sorcery, traditional magic, and mental magic. Each method has pros and cons. Computational sorcery requires the computational sorcerer talent. Traditional magic requires traditional magician. Either talent allows the caster to use mental magic. The next steps to decide... Yeah, let's just go with it. The next step is to decide what spell you're casting. A list of common spells encountered by laundry operatives is provided. And when you gain the magical talents, then you have a list of spells you can pick from. There are countless unique and subtly different spells scattered throughout the world, so feel free to give yours a unique name and visual description. Choose what spell level you want to cast it at and proceed. Make a mind magic test. The difficulty of the test is determined by the difficulty number of the spell you're trying to cast. If it's successful, the spell works, but a magical mishap is triggered if the test scores the more 1s than 6s in the dice pool. If it fails, the spell does not activate, and a magical mishap is activated. Magical mishaps are unintended side effects due to computer bugs, incomplete information, or sneezing during an important part of a chant. often referred to as user error. When this happens, the results are unpredictable and potentially catastrophic. You might just brick your smartphone, or you could accidentally rip open the gate to another dimension. Oh, we've got a table. Oh, that's interesting. Oh dear, you can kill yourself. That's not good. If a mishap's triggered, roll 2d6 on the magical mishap table to discover the price of your hubris. Right. Operatives should always be aware of the danger of messing up a high-level spell. Yeah, that makes sense. If you try and cast something that you are not equipped to do, good luck with that. Looking at this, Ground Zero, bizarre forces spin around the spellcaster, barely within their power to contain. Their current zone is transformed into a hazard which inflicts psychological damage equal to the spell's level. Warping. The GM adjusts the environmental traits of the spellcaster's zone to reflect the misfiring extra-dimensional static coursing through the space. Scale the effects to the level of the spell. The level 1 spell warping might only cover the zone in lightly obscuring green fog, while level 4 could flatten cover, impose difficult terrain, and plunge it into darkness. That's nice. Oh my god. Dark Future. In the interdimensional ether, the caster is haunted by dreadful visions of a post-cataclysmic world, along with useful details of a potential future. The caster triggers a successful prognostication at the spell's level if they're a laundry operative. NPCs trigger the dread effect instead. And just get nightmares. Okay, computational sorcery. The science of using modern computers to channel otherworldly forces. Computational sorcery can be completed using all manner of devices, from a scientific calculator to colossal supercomputers. Most commonly, it's used as a smartphone, laptop, or desktop computer. In the right hands, computational sorcery provides the best combination of protection and flexibility, as the spells can easily be adjusted as they're cast, and should something go wrong, the computer normally pays the price instead of the sorcerer. It would indeed be inconvenient. The first time each mission you trigger a magical mishap with computational sorcery, you can choose to roll on the computational complications table instead of magical mishap. If you're using a supercomputer, the time required to cast a spell is halved to a minimum of 1 minute. Yes, magic is not fast in this. All magic in this appears to have an element of ritual, and that's about right, to be honest. Because it always involves drawing things up or lining up energies. Drawbacks: you need access to a computer. The most basic computers, such as a scientific calculator, double the time required to cast the spell. Oh, shut up, fish. No. As far as I can tell, most of them seem to involve a level of ritual. And we know you don't like Bashful Incendiary. That was a bit weird. Traditional magic, the original sorcery, great fun if you like drawing elaborate pentagrams, dead goat proctology, oh dear, and tongue twisters in Enochian. Numerous downsides: most sorcerers need a lot of support from other casters, ritual items, sources of power, or extra-dimensional patrons. Casting a spell takes a very long time, and if you get anything wrong, you're screwed. Benefits: multiple casters can work together to cast traditional magic as a group by choosing a primary spellcaster and using the help action. Each participant must be a traditional magician and have at least 1 point of training in magic or occult. Additionally, the participants must stay within the same zone for the duration of the spell's casting time and focus solely on helping the primary spellcaster. Yeah, there are some characters who I don't know that they were created with those rules, by the way, fish. Mental magic. A particularly dangerous method of traditional magic where the caster attempts to cast a spell without any peripherals, ritual elements, or safety nets. There we are. Instead, they try to run complex, universe-altering mathematical formulae in their mind without making a single mistake. See also suicide. Mental magic can be cast any time and without the need for external tools. The complexity of all spells cast with mental magic is increased by +2. Any spells cast with mental magic immediately trigger a magical mishap, regardless of the results of the test. You must have computational sorcerer or traditional magician. Okay. And it's got the difficulties there, the variations there for customizing your spells. So double duration increases the complexity by 1. Increase the number of targets is increased by 1 per target. You can increase the range, reduce casting time. Also, you can get stuff off faster if you're willing to make it more complex. Spell affects a zone within range, +3 per zone affected. Ow. Right. Almost any sorcerer can be empowered by the use of stored ritual items. Oh, sorry, storied. I take that back. Locations rich with thermic energy or a good old-fashioned human sacrifice. To empower a spell, you must locate a suitably potent and thematically aligned object or location of power. The source of power table gives example sources of power, okay, and what spells they could empower. There's a sentence there. When casting a spell while drawing on this source of power, add bonus dice equal to your training in the occult skill. Right. So, yeah, it makes sense, you know, you locate a, I don't know, nexus of ley lines. Yeah, I think they're doing a good job, to be honest, of formalising what was occasionally, I think, done on spur of the moment in the books. Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, if you were the author of both the source material book and the system, then that would make things a lot easier. I do wonder if, for example, Benedict Jacker is going to release an RPG at some point. Would not shock me at all. Both his urban fantasy series have some very well-defined magic with some fairly clear rules. Okay, sources of power. Example, a cemetery, an executioner's axe, or a human sacrifice. Empowers spells associated with death or the dead. A courtroom, notorious criminals' handcuffs, or a seat of government. Spells associated with bindings or truth. An abandoned train station, the helm of a sunken ship, or the rock from the moon. Spells associated with travel or gates. It's all very thematic. Okay, I like that illustration. That appeals to me. Yeah, that's not going to cut it, mate, because that's tentacles. A spell with a casting time of 1 minute is usually too involved to be completed during a combat scene. However, when the pressure's on and adrenaline is pumping, a caster can try and rush the spell to have it ready in the nick of time. Fast casting is resolved as an extended test. Each test towards the extended test uses 1 action. However, the complexity of the test is tripled. Ouch. So yeah, you can try and get spells off in combat, but good luck with that. Rushing a spell is a great way to make a costly mistake. Every roll made as part of the extended test, which scores more ones than sixes, after spending skill focus, triggers a magical mishap. I'm seeing magical mishap happening a lot. Magic's bloody dangerous, basically. It's really cool, but it's bloody dangerous. A cabal of spellcasters using traditional magic can each make spellcasting tests that contribute to the same extended test, so long as they're all trained in the spell being cast. Since traditional magic takes twice as long, this will usually mean modifying the spell to half its casting time back to 1 minute, effectively increasing the complexity by 10. So yeah. If you need to cast a spell in a hurry, your best bet's probably to get everybody else to try and distract your opponents and have possibly a nice long conversation, maybe a cup of tea, while you're off hiding behind a chair, frantically drawing pentacles on the floor in silver pen. Spell summaries. Anti-magic ward. Well, we have the easy options. The laundry smartphones have numerous spells in them in the books. Yeah, you should be able to. I will have to have a check. The basic wards and stuff. The wards and allowing you to see through illusions. I would imagine that's going to be in there. They did mention the off-cut suite, so I would assume that they've all got access to that. Spells as spells are actually a big old thing. Anti-magic ward, astral projection, banishment, binding, curse, defensive bindings, destiny entanglement. Oh no. Energy transference, exorcism, glamour. Okay. So those are the basic effects, and then the spells are probably not called that. You will learn, I don't know, Agonizer's binding or whatever. The following section represents a list of common spells available to laundry operatives. Okay. So things like the wards have effectively an anti-magic, will have an anti-magic ward actually on them. You wouldn't be casting those, but if you don't have anything, you can also have, create your own ward by casting a spell, which is risky and has the chance of K syndrome. Okay. Let's have a look in gear just quickly and see what the equipment. There we go. No, the actual list of equipment, please, sir. There we go. Not a go. Come on, kids. Assigned gear. That's probably it. Tools of the trade. There we go. Weapons. We don't want weapons. We don't want conventional occult items. Okay, banishment rounds. Basilisk gun. Yeah, good luck with that. Hand of Glory. Expect to go through 3 of those in the session. Necronomicon. The iPhone, first generation to 3GS, is a marvel of modern technology. In addition to being a phone, it's a web browser, a GPS device, a digital compass, and a camera. In the hands of a skilled computational sorcerer, it can be more. By jailbreaking the phone to accept outside programming, sorcerers with skill in coding or sufficiently obsessive and dedicated colleagues can install the full suite of occult apps. These apps can be used to create level 1 banishing, defensive, binding, entropy manipulation, exorcism, glamour, scrying, and wards at the push of a button. So yeah, you do. You get access to all the to those spells at level 1 if you've got a Necronomicon. These complex spells require a normal casting roll and not merely the push of a button. Oh, sorry, no, I just skipped that. Sorry, my apologies. This device can be used as a more general magical assistant to perform all manner of more complex spells. However, these require a spellcasting roll. So yeah, the level ones you can just plink, and the suite will give you access to the defensive binding, the banishing, entry manipulation, exorcism, glamour, scrying, and wards. So yeah, they have thought about that. I like that. I was starting to get slightly concerned, I will confess. Personal wards. Protective wards can be made into a small item designed to be worn. A typical ward is a small leather, linen, or silk bag containing a wide variety of materials, usually including at least one carefully made electronic circuit. Personal wards are considered essential equipment by most field operatives. Department-issued personal wards are Class 2, 3, or 4. Class 2 are automatic. Everybody can get that. Class 3 are available to field operatives upon request. Class 4 are only available for high-risk missions or operatives who have experienced attempts on their lives. Yep. I'm actually really happy about the Necron on my phone. I was going to have to put it in if it wasn't in there, because it is a standard piece of equipment. Employees found to install Grounder, the dating app for abjurers, on their devices will be subject to disciplinary action. Yes. Otherwise, some of the examples are things like, oh my god, sorry, how to manufacture a Hand of Glory, which does get done on spec at least once. Hands of Glory can be manufactured out of any hand-like appendage, from mouse paws to the hands of great apes. Class 2 and 3 hogs are by far the most common and the only ones kept in stock. Class 1 and 4 must be specially requisitioned. So a Class 1 Hand of Glory is a mouse or a shrew paw. Lasts 30 seconds, and this type of Hand of Glory is very rare and is made only for special uses. Class 2, a pigeon claw or monkey paw. Why do you think pigeons all limp in London? Will last 2 minutes. A Class 3, human, chimp, or orangutan hand will last 5 minutes. They don't have to be used all at once. You can put the flames out and relight them. Level 4 is a gorilla hand. Excuse me? We have Class 5 referenced. It only goes up to 4, but we have Class 5 referenced, which requires a hand from a huge alien being and lasts half an hour. The Mirrored Hand of Glory. Recent variation of the Hand of Glory is a deadly weapon. It appears identical to a standard Hand of Glory. A Hand of Glory basically makes you invisible. You and anyone you're in skin-to-skin contact with. A Mirrored Hand of Glory has its base as a silver phase conjugate mirror. When activated by saying the command word, a Mirrored Hand of Glory emits a beam of coherent light, essentially a 5-shot laser weapon made from a dead human hand, a silver mirror, and some carefully crafted circuitry. Each shot uses up a finger. It is aimed normally and uses body ranged as opposed to guns. We're going to have a look at that, because I think ranged is mind. Unless this one explicitly used the range skill with body instead of mind. I will have to check that. Hands of Glories can be manufactured. Okay. They can be created on site with a severed human hand and a wrist from anyone who was executed, or the equivalent body part from an animal that was deliberately killed. The original description implied it could do more, but most hogs are tied to invisibility. Yeah, I like that there are 2 distinct types. By putting the mirrored version in, it explains why most of them are only invisible. Dun, 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 dun. Lighting a hog in your pocket is an excellent way to set yourself on fire. The hog can be extinguished by blowing out the flames or saying the command word again. The burning time is determined by its class and size. Fortunately, the listed time is the total burning time and doesn't have to be burned all at once. Affects living beings, zombies, and electronic surveillance. The user can see and hear normally and can be heard by anyone nearby, but they can't be seen by any means, including night vision or infrared. Also protects the user from attacks by basilisk weapons. The user instantly becomes visible if the hand of glory goes out or if they let go. If the user is in skin contact with another person, then that person's also rendered invisible. They can render up to 2 additional people invisible in this fashion. So, that's kind of a whistle-stop tour through character creation and the basics of the system. So, I think this is actually... I'm actually heaving a little bit of a sigh of relief, I will confess. But I think that this is pretty well mirroring and rendering more organised much that appears in the books. So I think you can happily run missions in this quite cheerfully. Sorry, I'm just looking at that. On the spell, it's talking about the specificity of spells and how everyone has their own. In practice, this means the incantation of Nagar Titch, the Wheel of Ibon, and the Occult Firewall version 1.3 can all simply be categorized as level 2 entropy manipulation spells. It's worth reading. It is worth reading, Chrono. A lot of them are a lot of fun. They're not as comedic as they are initially portrayed as, if that makes sense. A lot of places seem to file them under straight comedy, and they're not. They are espionage, for the most part. Stories with a solid core of black humour and a certain degree of the whole trench humour. You know, you make a joke because otherwise you're going to go completely loopy. This looks great fun, but you hadn't even heard of it. I think also the writer has put up some of the short stories for free, which aren't necessarily in any of the books, but got published as sort of side notes and things. I definitely say if you want to play, it's well worth reading the first one to get your feet under you for the sort of things you can expect to have happen. I think that's probably a safe bet. Let's just double check how much there is. You only heard of the books because you found the first edition of the RPG. Oddly enough, Fish, yeah, I found it at Salute and I nearly bought it, but I didn't. I had basically enough of that or 3 other things. Yeah, thought so. The first book is The Atrocity Archives. First book in the Laundry Files. And yeah, sorry, I apologise, Fish. Yes, I was reading the back trying to make sense of it. And I'd kind of heard about the setting, but I hadn't realised it was both books and games. I thought it was a game. And then when I read the back of the game, it was like, based on the books by Charles Stross. And I was like, okay, who's he? So yeah, I would recommend anyone who wants to play this, I'd definitely say read the Atrocity Archives. If only because that then comes with, certainly the audiobook comes with 2 of the short stories as well, which are useful and give you sort of more side information. Oh, you then got the PDFs in the bundle which you bought for Dresden and Mistborn. Oh, I did not know they were in a bundle. Right, so I am going to leave that there. Thank you very much indeed for sticking with me. The books in this... Come here. The books in this are, so far, Laundry Operative's Handbook, which will get you most of the way through, and certainly all the player would need at most, and it looks like you could run quite happily from that. Like most first novels, it takes a bit to get into the flow. Yeah. You've got the advantage there that you've got the very likeable narrator, or very relatable narrator from the opening. And if it's the British edition of the book, the reader is extremely good. I gather the American reader has a different... American version has a different reader, but is also a Brit. But I haven't heard how good he is. He is pretty good, but I like the British edition. You also have the Supervisor's Guide, which is the GM-specific stuff. So, tweaks and extra stuff that you can allow the players access to, but GM fiat. Introduction to Applied Occult Computing, which is a campaign set around Milton Keynes. And Black Bag Jobs Reopened, which is a selection of scenarios and missions. So before I even had to create my own stuff, I've got a load of scenarios. Knowing me, I'll be creating my own scenarios anyway, because that's just how I am. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to running this. And I do like that character sheet, and I don't know why. But it just appeals to me. Audiobook has been bought and downloaded. Okay. Yes. So, thank you very much indeed. It being... God, is it Wednesday today? I don't know what day it is. Help. It being Wednesday today, tomorrow I will be back on the Thaumaturge. So, I hope to see some people then. And then on Monday, I will be back for the next section of The Phoenix and the Carpet. And possibly thereafter, I will do some Atomfall. Depending on how long the chapter for Phoenix of the Carpet is. Not Phoenix and the Carpet, God, sorry, 5 Children in It. I can do this. Clearly I need more water. I hope this has been a useful look through for anyone who's considering getting it, or has it sat in their drive-through queue having backed it. But yeah, I reckon that they've done a really good job implementing the feel of the books and nailing it down to mechanics. This looks like it will work. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So, thank you very much indeed. And I will bid you a farewell. Should you wish to support the channel, please God, I need somebody to. You can follow on Twitch, subscribe YouTube, all of which convinces me that people like my existence. And if you'd like to monetarily support it, although that's by no means a demand on my part, you can do so on ko-fi.com/Druttercup. And alternatively, if you happen to have a Twitch Prime subscription, then you can support me on Twitch with a subscription paid for by Amazon. So not even real money. However, thank you very much indeed. And I hope everybody has a good evening. and I'll see you guys around.